Hey, what's up guys? It's Corey here with Dapper Dollars, and today we're going to talk about the earnings call that just happened with Hyliion and what we can expect for 2021 and 2022 as far as where Hyliion is going and whether or not we are still on track to actually have production of hypertrucks in the future. So anyway, let's get started. So this channel is all about using the online income opportunities we have with Merch by Amazon and Etsy to build our income online and then invest this income in things like the stock market and real estate. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, like and subscribe, and let's get started. So, the earnings calls with Hyliion are a little bit different from other earnings calls that we do on this channel, mostly because Hyliion is basically a pre-revenue company, and most of what they're doing right now is technology-based and planning in order to make sure that they're able to actually do what they're saying that they're going to do and bring this final product to the people who can actually buy it. They do have some sources of revenue as far as a few hybrid trucks sold. However, it is not on the level of other companies that we talk about like Vuzix, Aemetis, and Palantir. They are basically pre-revenue. So whenever we're looking at these earnings calls, we're not looking for fundamentals of the business as far as income and revenue to judge whether or not we want to invest in this company, but are they doing what they need to get to revenue and eventual profitability to make their business actually work. So anyway, let's get into the earnings call and go from there. So at the beginning of this earnings call, they did mention that there was revenue from hybrid trucks that they have sold to people, and these hybrid trucks usually go to the people who are on the Hypertruck ERX Council that we'll talk about in a little bit. However, this is great news because it does mean that there are sales going. There are powertrains moving out the door, which means that there will be customers who will potentially place follow-on orders either once the hybrid truck ERX comes out, or they just want to stick with the original hybrid truck. So this is great news because it means that there is potential revenue in the future for them, and they're at least creating enough buzz or demand that people actually want to buy. So this is great news for Hyliion right now. But anyway, let's get into what else they talked about on this call, which is mostly that the information that they're getting from these trucks on the road right now is producing data for the company, and essentially 1 gig of data is produced per day from these trucks that are already on the road that Hyliion is using to improve and innovate what they're doing as far as the ERX that's coming up and how to improve the hybrid that is being produced and sold now. Now this is pretty good news because I like to think of the information that they're getting back from these hybrid trucks as what Tesla did in the beginning whenever they started their the electric car solution, and potentially moved on, or eventually moved on to the self-driving and autonomous driving network that Tesla has now. This was able to be achieved because of all of the road miles that Tesla owners had driven, the information that the cars had collected while the owners were going about their business, and Tesla utilizing this information. In the same way, Hyliion is collecting information from trucks that are on the road now, which will only improve the product that they're able to put out in the future and also potentially create an opportunity to sell this data in the future, because in the same way, Tesla is going to be able to sell all of the road miles and information they have gathered to other companies that produce electric cars or want to have some sort of autonomous driving. In the same way, Class 8 truck companies will be able to purchase this data from Hyliion in the future, which will give Hyliion an additional stream of revenue, but also allow Hyliion above all else to innovate and improve what they have as far as where they're going right now as a company and how the trucks are handling the road. And so, from this, they move on to obviously the Hypertruck ERX, which is Hyliion's biggest goal right now. Hyliion's biggest factor in success or failure is this Hypertruck ERX that is coming out and the Hypertruck ERX Council. And so with this Hypertruck ERX, they go over what the ERX is. And if you're new to this channel and you haven't heard of the Hyliion Hybrid ERX, it is a Class 8 truck that uses renewable natural gas, or potentially hydrogen in the future to create electricity on board the truck itself, which powers the battery pack that is on the truck, which means that it is not taking as much electricity from the grid because the energy is produced by burning those fuels on the truck. It eliminates emissions and also increases the range of diesel trucks or RNG trucks in the future. So I hope this makes sense. So what happens is you put natural gas or renewable natural gas into the hybrid ERX. The hybrid ERX burns that and uses that energy to then charge the battery. The battery then charges or produces power to the powertrain, and then the powertrain, whenever it encounters resistance or braking, uses that resistance from the braking to then capture the energy and charge the battery again. So it's a constant state of in and out as far as energy from the battery, but this means that they are able to have a smaller battery pack on board, which means they don't have any cargo limitations because they're not having to haul around like massive batteries the way that Tesla would. And it also means that they're going to be able to charge up faster whenever they go to charging stations. So it's going to increase the range for trucks that are using RNG or diesel in the future, and it is going to eliminate the downtime at the charging stations whenever they do have to charge these batteries. I think they said around 8 minutes is the usual charging time for a hybrid ERX in the future. So anyway, that is a summary of the hybrid ERX and what Hyliion is doing with them. And for this hybrid ERX that is going to go to the Hybrid ERX Council, Peterbilt has agreed and has given Hyliion the trucks that they need to start modifying. Peterbilt has put the natural gas tanks on these trucks, and now Hyliion is making the adjustments to have these trucks prepared to go to the Hybrid ERX Council. And this means that they are putting the battery packs onto the trucks, they are wiring everything, putting the new powertrain on the Peterbilt as well. And it's amazing that Peterbilt is doing this, because having an American-made truck like Peterbilt as the spokesperson for this trucking company is going to have a lot of credibility. Number one, because Hyliion is a Texas-based company, Peterbilt is a Texas-based company, and if you know anything about the trucking company, it is largely out of the lower Texas states, or lower state of Texas, and this is great because it puts everyone in the same area and they're able to work together, if not, or not just across the world, but locally if they have to go and see each other. So this is another great thing for Hyliion, and this is what is going to go out to the Hybrid ERX Council, which is built up of a bunch of different companies within the trucking industry. And they are going to test this truck for bugs. This truck is also going to be taken to trade shows, which is also going to build buzz around Hyliion and hopefully create more visibility for what Hyliion is doing. And this council is going to put Hyliion in a great position because they are going to be able to have basically a built-in customer base. People who have not essentially agreed to buy, but they know what Hyliion is building, and they know that whenever the finished product comes, it is going to be basically exactly what these companies want. And these companies have the ability to buy hundreds of thousands of trucks. So this is amazing news for Hyliion, especially since they have all these people on this council. And I'll put a list of the people up on the council in the screen, and you'll be able to see why this is such a big deal, because you've likely seen some of these names before on the road. And now there are some additional things that they have going on that have caused the slowdown of projected, what their projections were for getting these Hypertrucks on the road and getting the ERX Council moving. Now, mostly they are looking at the delays of semiconductors, production ability, and workforce, and they're also, just having to delay things because of things taking longer than expected. They addressed earlier in the call that they were taking these trucks to Minnesota to test them during the winter, and they got some information about what the trucks did and how they handled the extreme cold. So now they're going to make modifications, and this obviously pushes things back because they weren't expecting to have to make these modifications. But how great is it that they did this before they launched this truck out to everyone in the world and risked a potential media frenzy of people tearing apart the new Hypertruck ERX. This is honestly a wise move, even though it does push stuff a little bit. It is going to eventually pay off dividends because it is going to put Hyliion in a situation where they're ready for these extreme conditions that these trucks are going to have to go through eventually. So the fact that they took these trucks there, put them through that extreme cold, brought them back, and are now making those adjustments is going to be a good thing for Hyliion in the future. So what they said as far as what these delays mean is that the demo for the hybrid ERX is going to be the end of 2021, and then the adjustments will be made throughout the rest of the year. And then we can expect to see finalized demos brought to the hybrid ERX Council at the end of 2022. And so this is, it's not that bad. Yes, it is a delay. No, it is not a Tesla-sized delay. Tesla was supposed to launch their electric truck or electric semi-truck in 2019. It is now 2021, and we still don't know when that's coming out. They were supposed to launch their Cybertruck, I think, in 2020. It is now, I think, 2022 that it might come out, if we even get it. So it's, yes, a delay, but in comparison to the delays of larger companies like Tesla, this isn't really that big of a deal. So, and we've already talked about the Innovation Council as far as what their purpose is, and that is to essentially get the bugs out of the hybrid ERX before it goes to the final stages. And this is a great idea because it prevents Hyliion from looking like a fool and not knowing what they're doing by having companies that are going to be using these trucks and putting them through the very rigorous circumstances that they're aware of, and then letting Hyliion know what they don't know. Because right now Hyliion is producing Class A trucks, but they haven't been in this industry and they haven't run Class A trucks for most of their lives. So taking these trucks to people and companies that have been in this industry for a long time, they're going to be able to tell Hyliion what they don't know about what these trucks are going to need to go through. And this could potentially be great news because it's going to get all the bugs out of the way, but it could potentially be bad news as well because they might give Hyliion some information that they don't want, and that could mean that what they're planning for is basically scrapped, and then they're having to start all over again. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but it is a possibility, and it is great that it is going about in this way now because we're going to get all the bugs out in the future, and as investors, this is going to give us a more solid foundation to trust Hyliion's success in the future once all these trucks go through the hybrid ERX Council. And now there was the issue that they talked of with infrastructure, and infrastructure being fueling infrastructure for Hyliion. Because right now, if people who talk about Tesla and the Tesla Semi, there is not much of an infrastructure for that truck. The infrastructure would still need to be built out for Tesla's semi-truck, because it can't just go to a normal charging station because number one, it is massive and it would likely take up about 4 charging stations just to charge one charger or just to charge one truck. And then it would likely take 4 hours plus for that truck itself to charge on a normal charging station. If it goes to a supercharger, it might take an hour 30 minutes. And then that's still a lot of time, and they would have to be big facilities as well. So what Tesla is going to need to do is create the super charging stations essentially for the Tesla semis, and they're going to have to build those out, and could potentially be around 500 facilities that need to be built out around the country just in America. Now, Hyliion is not in this situation because what Hyliion is doing, like we've said, is they're using renewable natural gas, and potentially hydrogen in the future to fuel their trucks. Yes, hydrogen is not available right now. That infrastructure needs to be built out. However, renewable natural gas and natural gas are definitely available right now. The amount of natural gas or the amount of renewable natural gas that has been produced and used in the US is up 50% year over year, and over the last 5 years is increased 200%. So the production and the use is going up, and I think there are around 200 plus companies that are now producing renewable natural gas. And this is a gas that can be just tied into a natural gas pipeline. It doesn't have to be any sort of different station built at all. It doesn't have to be a different facility. It can just be tied right into a natural gas pipeline. So this is great because it means that if renewable natural gas is used, it is going to have a green impact, and the government is likely going to get behind it. And it's going to just be a plug-and-play situation, and also why, all of these reasons around renewable natural gas are why I'm in the company called Aemetis. I'll link to that here, my latest video I did on Aemetis. And this company is all about using or producing renewable natural gas through collecting dairy waste and converting methane runoff from dairy ponds into renewable natural gas. And they have done and are doing some amazing things. They went from $2 to $30 as stock price in 2020, and like every other tech stock right now, they're down. However, they are obviously climbing back up just like every other tech stock. So anyway, this is where they left off with the information about Hyliion. There were some question and answers that came up. However, this is essentially where they left the call with Hyliion, and we see that everything is still somewhat on track. Yes, there are delays as far as getting the demo trucks to the customers that they need, the Hybrid ERX Council, and really that's not that big of a delay because I think it was supposed to be mid-2021. Now they're saying that it's going to be late 2021 that they have a finalized truck that can go to the Hybrid ERX Council, and that's not that big of a deal. And one more thing, the fuel agnosticism of the Hybrid ERX in the future. Now, we did mention hydrogen as a possible fuel source, and hydrogen is one of those that would have to have an infrastructure built out as well. You cannot plug and play hydrogen the same way you can renewable natural gas. There would have to be additional charging stations for hydrogen in the future. But what Hyliion is doing is creating a fuel agnostic version of their Hybrid ERX truck. And that means that you could put renewable natural gas, natural jet gas, and hydrogen into the same vehicle. That is going to be a massive game changer because if a company chooses to go with that fuel agnostic model, it means that that company is now set for any developments that could happen in the future. If there's natural gas, renewable natural gas are here, but whenever hydrogen gets here, which most people are pretty sold on the fact that it will be here eventually, once hydrogen gets here, that company will not have to worry about creating or buying a whole new fleet of trucks. They will simply be able to use what they already have and make themselves, able to use that. So Hyliion is creating some massive buyer interest because of the versatility of their trucks in the future. So with all of this said, I'm still gangbusters about Hyliion. I still think this is going to be a $20 to $40 billion company, and I am, looking to load the boat anywhere under $10 whenever I have extra cash. And I think everything is mostly on schedule right now. So anyway, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Drop a comment down below. Let me know if you are invested in Hyliion. And I hope you guys are having a great day. And remember, someone is going to do something amazing every day, guys. Why not you? See ya.